Evo, vas jaz kar pozdravim. Živjo, dobrodošli na kreativnem pospeševalniku. Danes imamo z nami Natalie Nixon, ki se bo potem sama predstavila in malo povedala, kaj dela in vam razložila vse, kar je v tem, kako v bistvu kreativci, kako naj bi se kreativci pogovarjali oziroma dokazali v nekih podjetjih in dokazali, da pač imajo visoko vrednost. Zdaj prosila bi vas na začetku, da imate pri sebi kakšen blokec pa svinčnik, ker bo kakšna stvar za zapisati si vmes. Pa par vprašanj bo vmes in kar odpisujte v tale chat. Okay, and now to you, Natalie. You can tell more about what you do, and then we can slowly start with the lecture.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today. As Zala explained, my name is Natalie Nixon. I am based in Philadelphia in the United States, and I am a creativity strategist. And what that means is I advise leaders at large organizations, small organizations on how to apply creativity and strategic foresight in order to get to more transformative business results. And I got here through a very loopy path. My background is in anthropology and fashion. And it turns out that that very hybrid way of thinking about society and problem solving has come in handy. So what I want to share today is the ways as you all as creatives can really have much more of a seat at the table, especially when you are advising, consulting, or an employee at more traditional companies. Before we start, please make sure you have a piece of paper and that you have a pen. Right? Because we want to make it a bit interactive. So a piece of paper and a pen. So just grab that, please. And okay, yeah, so we're going to get started. So I'm going to share my screen. There's going to be some moments when I come back here and we're going to share on a chat. So don't be shy, please share. And also Zala is going to break you into small teams later on. All right, so let's begin. All right, so I was asked to share my ideas about the voice of creatives in companies, and I have some thoughts. What I'm going to do is first, I'm going to do a lot of discussion about what is creativity, how do I define it, why is it more important than ever? Then I'm going to share a slide on how you can explain and think about the business value of creativity. It's real. Creativity is not a woo-woo fluffy idea. It's directly connected to innovation. And third, I'm going to end with 3 ways that you can lead with creativity. All right, so that's where we're headed. If you feel so moved, if you're interested, please, you can always email me later. My email's at the bottom of the slide, natalie@figure8thinking.com. I hope that you will follow me on social media at @NatWNixon. You can tag the name of my new book, The Creativity Leap, and definitely join my newsletter. I'd love to start hearing from you more. So this is a typical boardroom at a company, at a corporation. And the challenge is that in these sorts of environments, it often doesn't feel like there's much room for creativity. And that actually part of the point of my work is that we have to change that story, right? This is actually exactly where creativity needs to be brought up more regularly, especially because we have to reorient ourselves. We are all in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm in the United States. where everything is still closed down. I understand that in your country, in Slovenia, things are opening up again. You guys are back to work. But still, we all need to reorient ourselves. In the midst of this reorientation, there's something happening that I call innovation churn, right? It's like when you're swimming and everyone is just, all over the place. And this is exactly why we need creativity, because creativity is the engine for innovation. Creativity will actually help us to center ourselves, excuse me, and find, if I go back to this slide of the compass, find our true north. Where are we centered? Where do we need to be centered? So we actually need to do as much as possible to integrate creativity into this boardroom so that more creatives, and even people who don't think they're creative, can have a seat at the table, so that creativity becomes normalized, not something that's extra. As a matter of fact, I really believe that the table that we will have a seat in is not going to look like this much anymore. Even my husband, who's a lawyer at a kind of conservative office, conservative company, they are even thinking very differently about, why do we have all this real estate? Why do we have to be in the office 5 days out of the week when we are doing completely okay through COVID-19 with a hybrid model? So even this visual of how we think about creativity is going to shift. So once again, make sure that you have a piece of paper, make sure that you have a pen, and I want you to take your piece of paper, and I'm going to stop sharing for a moment. I want you to take your piece of paper, and at the top, I want you to write one challenge that you're having at the office, one challenge at work. It could be on a team, it could be a communication challenge, it could be with a client. You don't have to give all the details, but just write it even as a question. What's one challenge you're having at work? So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I'm going to use my timer to write down one challenge. Begin. Ten more seconds. Okay, great. Now, so you wrote your challenge at the top. Now take the paper, fold it in half once, and fold it in half again. Okay, so you will have your challenge at the top, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 quadrants. Okay, great. So let's continue. Going back to my screen. All right, so you have your paper, you have your pen, and you have one challenge that you're feeling at the office. So here's my basic idea, that we need a creativity leap. We need to make more creativity leaps for what is called the fourth industrial revolution. And the opportunity in this fourth industrial revolution is to apply technology to amplify what it means to be human. In the fourth industrial revolution, which is today, which is now, technology is everywhere. In robotics, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, the train has left the station. So here's the opportunity. How can we use this technology to amplify what it means to be human? And so a lot of the work that I do is I collect signals on the landscape, right? Because I'm very interested in understanding how resonant is creativity in people's work and lives. And I believe that creativity is becoming more resonant because creativity is actually going to be the way we amplify what it means to be human. It's going to be through creativity. So here's the first signal on the landscape. The World Economic Forum, back in 2015, they said that creativity will be the number 10 job skill by 2020. 1 year later in 2016, they said, actually, creativity is going to be the number 3 job skill by 2020. And what's interesting is that the job skills number 1 and number 2 were critical thinking and problem solving. And what's funny to me about that is that critical thinking and problem solving are actually skills in creativity. So actually creativity is the number 1 job skill that we all have to master. And luckily for you all, since your work is really focused on creativity, you are really ahead of the game. Next signal on the landscape is really coming from our popular culture, where we're seeing the human quotient become very real. So in America, we have this show called Blackish and this other show called Big Little Lies. And what you see are 2 characters in 2 different TV shows. They're teenagers, and they're both telling their parents, we do not want to go to college, right? This character, Junior, he got into a university and he said, I want to take a gap year. And this character, her name is Abigail, she's saying to her mother, I won't even apply. In fact, I already have a job at a startup. So the signals on the landscape from these 2 examples on television and our popular culture are that we are not teaching and giving learning in the ways that young people in Generation Z want to learn. They want to learn by doing. They want to learn experientially. And this is all a signal that creativity is on the rise. The other example I have here is from another television show. It's called Billions. And this is a character named Wendy Rhodes. And she's a psychiatrist, excuse me. And her job at a highly charged venture capitalist financial services firm is that she advises all of the leaders on their inner child, meditation, visualizing their destiny. So we have this beautiful role of the humanities. Once again, soft skills, which is all what creativity is about. And so what I'm basically saying is that soft skills are hardcore. They are not frilly, they're not woo-woo, and they are not add-on. They are essential. And they're especially essential in the to survive in an environment that is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. You cannot use a straight line, rational method to navigate uncertainty. Uncertainty and complexity is nothing new. In most ancient civilizations, there was a lot of complexity. The difference is that complexity doesn't look the same anymore, but it's still here. It's never gone anywhere. So what I'm actually proposing is that we have to navigate and manage complexity with complexity, specifically with creativity, because creativity is a complex system. In other words, if you've ever stepped on chewing gum when you're walking down the street on your shoe, the best way to remove the chewing gum is with more chewing gum. That's why I'm saying the best way to navigate complexity is with complexity, which is that creativity. So my first question to you all, and I want you to share your answers in the chat. I'm going to stop my share. How do you define creativity? In your opinion, what is creativity? So if you would start to just chat, to add your answers into the chat area, Zala's going to help and she's going to share out what your ideas are. So what's creativity? How do you define it? And let's just take about 1 minute to share on this. Please begin. Nice, play, love it. What else? What's creativity? in and out the box. Fearless. I love it. Fearless thinking. You show your true light. You impact the world with your genius. Nice. Creating new value added, unexpected solutions, imagination sharing. This is awesome. I love this. Actually, I'm going to take a quick screenshot of this. What is creativity? Awesome. Thank you. Okay, I love it. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about what is creativity. And so the good thing about creativity, when you're learning about it, when you're advising about it, you're always getting inspiration from so many different areas. And so I love the ways that you guys have been thinking about creativity. I totally agree. Here's the challenge, the problem. Many times when other people think about creativity, they might think of a painter sitting in solitude with the light shining down on them and having this very peaceful, placid time. Or they might think about a band, a rock band, and people really have total freedom and they're rocking it out. Or they might think about dancers on a stage, right? And the grace that comes with creativity. Well, I have decided that I define creativity in the following way. Creativity is your ability to toggle between wonder and rigor to solve problems and create novel value. That's what I think creativity is. It's this need to go back and forth between the wonder and the rigor. And I ended up doing quite a lot of research and thinking about this and wrote a book called The Creativity Leap: Unleash Curiosity, Improvisation, and Intuition at Work. And it's actually going to come out June 23rd. So next month, it's coming soon. But you can download a free sample chapter on my website if you go to figure8thinking.com. And I hope that you will decide to be part of this community where people will be sharing out creativity leaps that they're making. But in the process of writing the book, I interviewed over 50 people who come from law and science and education and beauty and cosmetics and consulting, because I wanted to understand, how does creativity, meaning wonder and rigor, show up in your lives and your work? So I'll share a couple examples. This photograph is a couple named Gary and Amy Mainoff. They're farmers in a small town outside of my city, outside of Philadelphia. They have a fruit farm. They grow apples in the fall, winter, and they grow peaches in the spring, summer. And they had to be incredibly inventive and improvise as they were trying to figure out, how do we offer new value? You know, one of your answers, you guys said creativity is about offering new value. Absolutely. And it requires bravery and courage. And they ended up, you read the book, you'll get their story, but they ended up developing a cidery, right, to offer a new contribution. This woman here is a lawyer, and she is in the United States a leading policymaker on child sex offense. And she had to do an incredible amount of curiosity and asking different questions in order to bring together people who are on opposite sides of the fence. This man right here is our family plumber. He was incredibly poetic as he talked about having to see what is behind the wall. His name is John Harker, and he's really a systems designer. And this is Céline Barrel. She is a nose or perfumier, and she has the incredible mixture of science and intuition in order to do her job of creating perfumes. So these are also great examples of creativity, right? Creativity is not only in the arts. Creativity is any time we are toggling between wonder and rigor to solve problems. So creativity is a productivity play, and it is a competency. It takes hard work. It's not sexy. It is not some woo-woo frilly add-on. It is absolutely necessary. More specifically, it stems from chaos theory. When I said that we need complexity to solve complexity, this is what I mean. creativity is a chaotic system. A chaos is a word that D. Hock made up. And D. Hock was the president of Visa, the credit card company. And when he was asked to be the head of Visa, he said, I've got to find a way to lead this organization where there is some chaos and there is some order. Because he did not want to have an organization that was led in the traditional way of boxes and arrows. Because when he would take walks in the woods, he said in nature, we have chaos and we have order. This is the way this beautiful forest emerges. There is a sapling that sprouts up from the ground, and over time, through a series of orderly processes, it evolves into a tree. And similarly, the way our bodies heal is also this mixture of chaos and order. Now, keep in mind, chaos is not anarchy. Chaos is randomness. And order is not control, order is structure. And you see, especially in jazz music, this nice toggling between the chaos and the order, because in jazz music, the jazz musicians, they need the order and the structure from practice. They know music theory. The composition has a beginning, a middle, and an end, but they also embrace the chaos. They are in the moment. They respond to building on each other's ideas. So in nature, in our bodies, in jazz improvisation, in comedy improvisation, these are all examples of chaotic systems. And additionally, creativity is a chaotic system because it has wonder, which is similar to chaos, and it also has rigor, which is similar to the order. And actually, if you're interested in exploring this further, check out the Wonder Rigor card game I developed. It's on Amazon, and let me know if it's helpful to you and your teams to help promote wonder and rigor. So here's the thing. Wonder is found in the middle of rigor. How often have you had to do a really tedious chore, or you're weeding in the garden, or you have to do your taxes, or you have to finish an Excel sheet? It's in those moments that we often have wonder. Also, rigor cannot be sustained without wonder. It's impossible. You will burn out if you only in a company, in an organization, have rigor, and you don't design space and time for wonder. So these are what I call the corollaries of creativity. So what is wonder? Wonder is about curiosity, daydreaming, pretending, imagination. It's emergent. And one of the two quotes that I really like to remind people of is that wonder is something that has been valuable for a long time. So Socrates said that wisdom begins in wonder. And the Jewish theologian Abraham Heschel, he wrote that wonder, not doubt, wonder rather than doubt, is the root of all knowledge. So wonder is really essential for our growth and for our learning. So would you take your piece of paper and write down a few of these descriptions of wonder? So write down in one of the quadrants 3 or 4 of these words that speak to you, that are meaningful to you. And I'm going to give you 20 seconds to do that. Please begin. Okay, 5 more seconds. Awesome. Okay, so that's in one of the 4 squares on your piece of paper. Write down 3 or 4 of these descriptors. Now, rigor. Rigor is about practice. It's critique. It's time on task. It's discipline. It's showing up over and over and over again. It's paying attention to details when you're really, really thorough. And Leonardo da Vinci, the great Renaissance man, he said that any obstacle can be destroyed through rigor. So we need rigor to persevere through really big challenges. So now what I'd like you to do is in a second square, write down 3 or 4 of these descriptors of rigor, just 3 or 4 that really speak to you. Please begin. 15 seconds. Okay, awesome, good. Now, think back to that specific challenge that you wrote down. Remember at the beginning of our time together. So you wrote that challenge at the top of your piece of paper. I want you to circle one wonder principle and one rigor principle. One wonder descriptive and one of the rigor principles that you wrote. One wonder idea, one rigor idea. Okay. Next, I'm going to give you just 2 minutes because I don't want you to overthink this. Now, Zala told me that you are all creatives, that you work in these various companies. So I assume that you are comfortable doodling. Maybe I should not have assumed that, but here's the thing. If you can write a circle, a square, a stick figure, you can do this. So I want you to doodle in the third quadrant, one way that you could apply the wonder principle to solve the challenge that you wrote on the top of your paper. And in the last quadrant, doodle one way you could apply a rigor, the rigor idea to your challenge. Okay? So I'm going to stop sharing. And the first thing I'm going to do, actually, I'll leave this here. I'm going to give you 2 minutes starting now. But before I do, are there any questions? Zala, does anyone have a question? Is it clear what I'm asking you to do?
Hi, everybody. If somebody doesn't know what to do, just write it in a chat, and you can also do it in Slovenian, and I'll translate it. But I think most of the people, they know what you're doing. They're probably busy doodling right now.
Okay, good. All right, so starting right now, doodle 2 doodles. One way that you're going to use a wonder principle, one way that you're going to use a rigor principle. Starting now, go. Twenty seconds left. Five seconds left. Okay, so now Zala is going to divide you into groups of 4, 3 or 4 people, and you're going to have just 4 minutes just to share with each other what you doodled, what your challenge is, and how you could use wonder and how you could use rigor. Okay? So
yeah, I'm gonna put you in the breakout rooms now, and just turn on your cameras and your microphones so you're gonna be able to hear each other. And okay, open all rooms. I think you all got the invitation for the breakout rooms now, and some of the people are already joining.
So just 3 minutes, we'll give you a 1-minute warning. Have fun.
Okay. Yeah, most of the people accepted. If somebody can't access the breakout rooms, please tell me, just write it in the chat.
Okay, let's give them a 1-minute warning. Zala? Zala?
Sorry, I had my microphone off. I already did. It's gonna close in 50 seconds.
Great, thank you.
People coming back.
Okay.
Not everybody yet, though. 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Are we all
Awesome.
back? Yeah.
Awesome. So could I have just maybe 3 people share verbally with your voice, just choose either the wonder idea or the rigor idea. If you want to show your doodle, that would be nice. Who wants to share first? Let's have 3 volunteers. Yeah? Okay.
I can go. Hi, my name is Thea. I am an urban planner and I am trying to, my word was games. How to engage people to play games. Now,
Nice.
so this is my doodle. And the second one was how to motivate people, how to motivate people to get involved in this gaming. And I start and attract 2 people, and each one of them attracts 2 more, and then and so on. So it goes viral.
Ah, I love it. I hope you start working on it tomorrow. Try it, just do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Someone else.
If someone else wants to do it, just turn on your camera or wave or do make some sort of a signal.
One more person, come on.
No? Anybody?
So I'm going to throw in a surprise. So to Teja, who just shared, I am going to mail you a signed copy of my new book because you were so brave to share. Thank you for doing that.
So much.
If one more person shares, I'll also send you a signed copy of my book. One more person.
Anybody? Okay.
Okay.
One sec.
Yeah, one more person.
Yeah.
Yay!
This is my doodle for daydreaming.
Ah,
So having occasional walks in the nature with your colleagues and hearing yourself out, since nature is quite quiet and the office space is quite loud, so nobody has the time to hear each other's ideas. And that was my main challenge for on the top of my paper, actually hear each other's out. So this is my doodle.
I love it. I love it. So you could become a person known in your company where if someone wants to meet with you, we're going to have a walk. You can have walking meetings. I love it. I want you to start doing that. And it will make you stand out, and you could actually start a viral trend. So bravo. I love it. So Zala, please help me, and you will send me the email and address for Teja and Anastas. Thank you.
Excellent. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
you guys please just send an email to info@Picasso, and we will get you the books.
Yay. Okay, let's continue. So thank you guys for sharing. So that's basically how I'm thinking about creativity. Thank you for your ideas. Now I want to switch to helping you explain to your colleagues the business ROI of creativity. That creativity actually has a return on investment. So here's 3 ways. Reason number 1, when we are creative, we must have more inventive thinking, right? We have to use more imagination. We are looking to different sources to spark ideas. So when we have more inventive thinking, new business models emerge. We figure out different strategic partnerships, companies or organizations or individuals or countries that we would have never before thought about contacting, we contact. And what does that lead to? New revenue streams. Revenue is money, and that is definitely a business return on investment. Reason number 2, that there is a business ROI or a business return of creativity. When we are creative, we must collaborate. When you collaborate with people different from you, different skill sets, it leads to new questions that you have. You begin to look at a problem in a totally new light. So when the 2 people who volunteer, when you start introducing games, when you start having walking meetings, you will be collaborating in different ways. When you introduce collaboration into the work culture, when we collaborate, in the longer term, efficiencies increase and costs lower. When efficiencies go up, costs go down. That's the second ROI of creativity. And third, when creative, we become obsessed with our customers. We don't become obsessed about the app or the hospital insurance plan, health insurance plan, or the service or experience we're selling. No, we want to make sure that we are obsessed with the people who are buying our products and services. When we are centered on our customers, then that leads to sustained brand loyalty, increased value in the marketplace. So that is the business ROI of creativity. And finally, I'm going to end our conversation today with 3 ways that you can start to lead with creativity in your organization. In case you're not doing it already, if you are doing it already, awesome. Here's 3 other ideas. Tip number 1, use the Trojan horse method. Use the Trojan horse method. So if you work in a very conservative, let's say healthcare organization or financial services firm, start to ask people for their help. Start to ask people for their advice on this project that you're working with. And now here's the thing. When we ask people for advice and for help, you are highly likely to get a meeting, to have a coffee with the person, because people are vain, right? People love talking about themselves. People love sharing their approach to things. But in the middle of these conversations, when you are asking for advice, this is the perfect opportunity to contribute your way of doing things, your thoughts on things, to have an exchange of ideas. So the Trojan horse, if you remember, Helen of Troy entered Rome through this wooden horse, and everyone thought it was just a horse that was coming into Rome. In fact, she had another agenda. So use the Trojan horse method, ask people for their advice and help, and you'll get two outcomes. Number one, you'll get help and advice on something you're working on. And second, you will start to build your network and collaboration in order to share your creative approaches to things. So try that. The second tip I have for leading with creativity is to ask for forgiveness, not permission. I have literally built my career by asking for forgiveness, not permission. If you wait until people open the door and allow you to participate, to show up, if you wait and wait and wait, you may never get invited. So if you have an idea that in your heart, you know, really help to change things for your organization, start working on it, start contributing it. And then if people say, well, we weren't ready for that yet, say, oh, I'm so sorry, ask for forgiveness, right? But still, you have started the conversation. You have started to contribute this different way of thinking about the problem. So ask for forgiveness, not permission. Don't be shy. And number three, the third tip, and you already were doing this with our exercise together, show, don't tell. I really have been so inspired by the work of Dan Roam, R-O-A-M. If you haven't heard of him, definitely check out his books, such as The Back of the Napkin, Draw to Win, blah, 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 When Words Aren't Enough. And what Dan demonstrates is that we are hardwired to be visual. If you can doodle something, it has nothing to do with your ability to draw, but it has everything to do with your capacity for complex, abstract thinking. So the next time you're at a meeting, you should be the one to grab the Sharpie, to grab the whiteboard marker, even if you are just trying to translate a colleague's idea, doodle the idea. You will be amazed. People will start to ask more questions. People will start to want clarification. And here's a really important tip. If you are holding the Sharpie, if you're holding the marker, you are the person who's more likely to get the negotiation done and to land the deal. You are showing leadership by helping everyone to think more visually. So to summarize, 3 ways to lead with creativity: use the Trojan horse method, ask for forgiveness, not permission, and show, don't tell. Okay, so as we end, before we get into final questions, what is one thing that you will start doing tomorrow to practice wonder or rigor to make a creativity leap? One baby step. Don't make it a huge, big project, but one small thing are you going to do in order to practice wonder or rigor, in order to make a creativity leap? I'm going to give you 30 seconds. You're going to write it on the back of your paper. You're going to write down today's date, which is the 28th day of May, right? 28th day of May? Yeah, May 28th, 2020. What is one pledge that you're going to make to start making a creativity leap? 30 seconds. Five seconds. Okay. Awesome. Here's why I wanted you to write it down. Goals are dreams with deadlines. Goals are dreams with deadlines. You must write it down. You must give yourself a date. and just try it. Don't let perfection be the enemy of good. So as we close, I'd love for you to stay in touch. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Here's the short link. You can go to YouTube and you can type in Natalie Nixon, and you could also just type in bit.ly/Natalie YT and subscribe. I post lots of webinars, quick tips, and interviews I have with people about creativity leaps they are making. So let's now end with any questions you have, and definitely stay in touch. Here's my email, natalie@figure8thinking.com. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and let's see if anyone has questions.
Thank you so much, Natalie. That was very, very inspiring.
Awesome.
So if somebody has a question, again, wave, write it in a box, and I will just let you. Okay, Dea.
Hi, Natalie. Thank you for this awesome presentation. I'm so happy. How do you, I have a question regarding the scope of creativity in your business. How do you navigate different creatives? Because there is sometimes a lot of creativity. So how do you organize and structure this creativity happening from like 5 different places at the same time? I mean, 5 different people are being so creative. So how to organize and structure this so that it's not...
Yeah, well, the important thing is that, like you just said it, there has to be structure. So think about this idea of divergence, right? Where we're being really, really big and expansive in our thinking, but also convergence. And this is again, that wonder, rigor, chaos, order, right? Mm-hmm. If we're only doing divergence, we will never get tactical to do sorting and sifting. So one thing you can do is you can come together and have a conversation about, can we decide on a rhythm, on a cadence of when we're going to allow ourselves to diverge, but also allow ourselves to converge, and even do that visual of divergence, convergence, right? And decide on what is the one day a week or twice a month where we will come together. And this is actually a term that qualitative researchers use, that we will sort and sift, because you have to pause and you have to come together to see patterns. Where are we overlapping? Where are things completely outliers? And what's interesting maybe about this outlier, but you have to come together and make a decision together collectively. What will we commit to? What's reasonable? And also understand, approach it as an experiment. Acknowledge we don't know yet what our cadence and rhythm will be. Maybe we'll start out with once a week and we'll say that's too much. And we'll go to 3 times a month, right? Or twice a month. So you have to be flexible. So basically introduce these ideas of a chaotic system. How can we as a team allow for the chaos, but also have the order? How can we as a team allow for the wonder as well as the rigor, the divergence, and the convergence? And that's my recommendation, to start there. You need to have this structure.
You helped a lot.
There is one more question from Urshka. She's saying, what's your tip on scoring the creativity potential through your model? So.
I don't have a magic formula. I spoke in the fall to a technology company, and someone from the audience asked, like, when are you supposed to use wonder? When are you supposed to use rigor? And it's like jazz, right? The important thing is first to acknowledge that we need the wonder and we need the rigor. And really, you take on a much more experimental mode. But one tip, and actually this is kind of a similar answer to what I just said, you have to create rituals, right? Rituals are very important for that order. Within the ritual, within the order, will come this genesis and generation of new ideas. For example, since COVID-19 started 2 months ago, I have committed to a new morning ritual. It means that I have to be asleep by 10 o'clock at night, which was very new to me. So in bed, sleeping by 10 o'clock at night, and awake at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I do not touch snooze. I have to get up at 6 a.m., I shower, get dressed, and between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m., I do my hygiene, I do my prayers, my meditation, I do a little journaling, and I stretch my body. I have a 15-minute stretch. I do it every morning now. I've done it for like 3 weeks now. I don't do it on weekends. And what's awesome about this ritual is that it's a promise to myself that I'm keeping. In the middle of this structure, there's always these new creative ideas that will pop in my head. So I hope that was helpful. That to score the creative potential, you have to be experimental. You have to first acknowledge that we need the wonder and the rigor. And you have to, the other model, I didn't talk about it in this talk, but if you go to my website, there's a tab called resources, and it has all these models that I use. And one is called the 3 I's. So the ways that you practice creativity are through inquiry or curiosity, improvisation, and intuition. Intuition is a type of pattern recognition. That's another way I can answer your question. Practice the 3 I's. Go to figure8thinking.com and you can see all those visuals. Thank you for the question.
Perfect. Anybody else have any questions? It's a one-time shot.
One-time shot. You can also email me later.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Natalie, for this lecture. It was very, very inspiring. I think I'm gonna start, using your methods tomorrow as well.
Good, good. And listen, Zala, since Urska also asked a question, I would love to send Urska a signed copy of the book too. So Urska, make sure you share your email and your mailing address to the Center for Creativity, and I will send you a signed copy. So it's 3 people who get a signed copy of the Creativity Lead. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I hope you'll stay in touch.